Well, so near yet so far for the Magpies yesterday. They led for most of the game against the Western Bulldogs, but injuries to key players saw Collingwood slip to a 21-point loss. Joining me, as he does every week on the agenda, is Jay Clark. Jay, disappointing. It was a bold effort by the Magpies, but unfortunately it didn't end so well.
Yeah, really admirable, I reckon, Chris. So given those injuries, and we'll talk about them later, they were hanging on for dear life in that last quarter, let's be honest, with no bench rotations. We speak to Jeremy Howe about that soon. But look, these injuries are going to be massive. For Solo and Moore out for a long time. They're two leading goal kickers. So we see now, and maybe it's time for Travis Cloke to return.
And I think Darcy Moore early in that final quarter as well. So really for the bulk of that final quarter, Collingwood didn't have a bench, and we'll show how that reflected in the rotations a little later. But certainly it was dramatic with, as you say, Taylor Adams. It looks as though he's gone for a long time. He tweeted, proud isn't a word I would usually associate with a loss. Today is different. Very proud to be a Magpie after that effort from my teammates. So just appreciating the fact that in these sort of circumstances, it is really difficult and at the elite level of the game when you're down rotations.
Well, in the third quarter, the Pies were in a winning position, really, a couple of goals up. So from there, if they'd had the full side, you would have thought they perhaps could have kicked on. Yeah, and look, it leaves them 4-6 now, Chriso, but it's still with some winnable games ahead. They've got Port Adelaide next, Melbourne, Blyth and Fremantle, Carlton. So if the Pies can string a couple of wins together now, they can leapfrog Port and Melbourne. So I don't think the coaching staff are in a position yet where they're throwing away the season.
Let's look at the injuries and how they unfolded yesterday. And this is Alan Tuvey with concussion, straight down to the rooms, and has spent a night in hospital, but we understand he's all okay. Taylor Adams looked like a real bad hamstring, didn't? I mean, he was on crutches during the latter part of the game. For Solo with a bad shoulder injury, and Darcy Moore with a broken collarbone.
Yep.
So
it looks serious.
It's not a good look.
No, not at all. And so this whole forward line is going to have to be restructured a little bit, and it might be time for Travis Cloke to return, as we said.
Jeremy Howe spoke with Collingwood media post-match, talking about the lack of rotations.
I knew something was up. I think we had a couple down before half-time, and then I was unaware that we had 0 left throughout that last part. Obviously, ideally, you get a rotation per quarter, each person. Mids sometimes get a couple, and to have none in that last quarter, I think a few guys started feeling it at the end, and it's definitely by far the most gassed I've ever been on the field. But, it's unfortunate for the boys to go down like that, but the VFL boys had a bye this week, so they're going to be fresh, and we've got boys that are knocking down the door, ready to put their hand up and come in and make a statement.
Jeremy Howe speaking there, and he is in fantastic form. I wonder whether his time will continue to be in defence, or maybe even have to go forward. We'll talk about that a little bit later, Jay. But Luke Beveridge, the Western Bulldogs coach, also acknowledged how difficult a task it is to play when you're down rotations.
We weren't going well enough to have a false sense of security. There's no doubt we dodged a bullet. And to Collingwood's credit, I think they ended up with just 18 left. And they really grounded out. They showed great courage.
Well, let's look forward, Jay, and determine who is actually available with what is a diminishing list.
Yep.
Travis Cloke clearly is someone that will come into consideration. Some midfielders there, defenders, and then Jared Witts is also back playing in the VFL as well.
Well, the big one structurally is Moore. Now, Cloke coming off 4 goals in the VFL, Chris. Are we saying yes, he's in?
Absolutely. We'll have a look at. We've both put our submissions in as to who might replace the injured quartet, and we'll have a look at that now. But certainly Travis Cloke, you would think, would have to come in now. There's your changes. Now you've got Cloke coming in for Darcy Moore. What about the other changes you'd like to make?
Well, Williams and Goldsack are the two who've only played 1 game in the VFL, so I reckon you can only bring one of those in. I think Marley Williams, he comes in and helps out with Tuvey, obviously gone with concussion. Now, I reckon McCaffer comes in, right, because he helps out the midfield. I reckon Crisp can drop back and play that Taylor Adams role. Chris, Adams has been so important for the Collingwood setup in that defensive sort of general halfback position. So maybe Crisp goes back there. You add a hard-nutty McCaffrey into the midfield to take on Wines and Gray, who had 15 clearances combined in their last match. So I reckon that's the way we'll go. What do you think?
Well, I've got Cloke in for Moore, Williams in for Adams, Goldsack in for Tuvey, and Jamie Elliott in for Alex Vassallo.
Elliott hasn't played for a long time. He's out for the season with back surgery. What's happening?
Well, it's wishful
thinking. Yeah, sure.
I mean, but it just goes to underline how difficult the scenario is, because with Vassallo and Elliott in that forward half, it's potent, and you've got Moore and playing at his best. I mean, it is a very good forward line.
Yeah. So
but it's been decimated.
Who do they swing forward then? Is it Varco? Is it Steele? How are they going to get goals this week?
Well, it's probably both of those. It's probably Varco and Steele Sidebottom to come forward. I mean, Sidebottom's been so outstanding on the wing, but maybe there's got to be Josh Smith perhaps coming from half back to the wing,
shuffle,
and a bit of a shuffle to try and find a bit of goal kicking power, because as you mentioned earlier, with Moore and Fasolo out, that's been the bulk of our goals so far this season. And so that's the challenge.
And White too has been encouraging, don't you think?
Oh, no doubt. Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's go and focus on yesterday's game, because it certainly was an interesting one for the first three quarters, and there were plenty of missed chances, and we've just skipped to some vision in the final quarter with the Collingwood players out on their feet. This is how it sort of unfolded, with the run from the Bulldogs just being able to expose Collingwood.
Yeah, well, they were absolutely out on their feet, and you can see this is only really when the game breaks open. It being so tightly contested for the first three quarters, Suckling very damaging with that boot, and you can just see them get out the back, a couple of times with their handball here, picking on the wing, and they go forward. And Collingwood in that position aren't able to get those numbers back as they were earlier in the game with the players down. CHRISSO'S, you can see Easton Wood. This is a fantastic goal. Look, but I mean the effort there. I reckon Nathan Buckley watches this, in the post-match review, and he gives them a big tick. Coxie we just saw probably didn't have his greatest day. And, the doggies kick away. I reckon if the Pies had all their full rotations, a full team, look, they could have pinched this one.
And this is evidenced here, because we've put the first three quarters together and then the final quarter. And if you look at rotations, Collingwood in that final quarter, 4 rotations to the Western Bulldogs 30.
You're just not going to win.
That is massive. And as a consequence of that, clearances certainly dominated the Bulldogs' way, and inside 50s were almost double. So it certainly was an emphatic performance. But look, full credit to the Western Bulldogs. All you can do is win and play well against the team that's put in front of you, and that's exactly what they did. And they won the game.
You'd be thinking a light week on the track ahead of Port Adelaide next week, when you think, because a lot of those boys, really
can't have any more injuries, mate.
Yeah, I reckon this is going to be a really light week, a recovery week, to get the boys back up.
Scotty Pendlebury was outstanding again, the captain in the midfield, and his ability to use the ball effectively and give his teammates an opportunity. Beautiful little shimmy there to get the ball wide to Steele Sidebottom, who delivers to Darcy Moore, resulting in a goal. But he's just poised and
shake and bake.
But his poise and his timeliness and his ability just to squeeze handballs out with no time. And this clever kick, look at that. I mean, didn't have time to think about it, but still found a teammate.
We played back earlier in the year, and it didn't quite work, as you see. Treloar here lanks up. Look at this. Oh, gotcha, Fletcher Roberts. You fell for it. A lovely goal. And the captain, the kicks one there. It was earlier. The Pies are on top at that stage. This is so good. We'll watch it again. Oh, gotcha. But he's back in the midfield, and he's back to his best, CHRISSO'S. So it didn't quite work earlier on in the back line. He's fit now, and this was a great quote at the weekend. He said it to Michael Gleeson of The Age. He talking about that move down back. It was also to help the defence out and organise down there, but it didn't work. Once my body was right, it was straight back in the midfield. That is my position. He is back to his absolute elite best. But in his place, Adams had played that role, hadn't he, CHRISSO'S? So they're gonna. It's a big void across half back. How Nathan Buckley's going to reshuffle the troops? As I said, maybe it's Crisp who goes back. Maybe it's Steele Sidebottom. In Collingwood structure, the past month Adams had played a key role.
Yeah, no question. His organisation ability that you've touched on has certainly been one of the reasons Collingwood's played some really good football. Yeah. All right, Jay, it's that special time of the week. Time for your Monday moment.
Yes. Well, we've spoken about a lot of the young kids who have emerged for this Collingwood side. We're going to see some vision now, CHRISSO, of a young Ben Crocker. Here comes a play. Just look at that. It's they're up late in the third quarter. The double-handed grab by young Benny Crocker. Let's see it again. So well done. Oh, just turns around on his right boot.
Did he mean to do that?
Long ball. I'm not sure, but it was good. And a very strong mark from Crocker. Kicks the goal. Look at that, CHRISSO. They're up by 15 points. with 8 minutes left in the third quarter. And then the injuries started to take their toll. But nice work there from Benny Crocker. I've enjoyed his work. What about your Monday moment?
Well, I've selected Levi Greenwood, who had the job on Bontempelli, who did an amazing job all day. But just look at the courage here, going back with the flight, made a contest, and then the follow-up work here on the tackle on Hunter, just absolutely nailed him. His work around the contest and the job that he did on Bontempelli was outstanding. And it's not the only job he's done, but Selwood last week, of course, and he's been and developed into that real hard-nosed midfielder that's doing a job. So well done to him.
And against Port this week, Wines and Gray, who would you send him to?
Or Boak is the other one. So there's maybe the captain, just to suck the life out of Port Adelaide.
Another big role.
Maybe that's the go. But what are you talking about? Port Adelaide, a massive game. Drop this game and it's pretty much all over, I reckon. So chances, I mean, there is going to be a new look Collingwood side taking the field.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be really difficult. Clokey needs to come in and hit the ground running. I mean, you mentioned before that he's going to be really fired up because his career is a little bit at the crossroads. This is his opportunity. He needs to show great hunger for the contest. So this is his opportunity. I think there's elite mids in this Collingwood. I think they'll get the ball forward. It's what happens from there without Moore and Fasolo that'll determine it. You agree?
Absolutely. Outstanding from you today, Jake. Next Monday, hopefully, we'll be celebrating a big Collingwood win over Port Adelaide. Hope you can join us then for another edition of The Agenda. Go Pies.